Hi, my name is Phil Goff, and I'm from the University of Sydney School of Architecture, Design and Planning, and I'm presenting a paper called Co-Designing Technology Probes with Experienced Designers. This paper is from the Effective Interactions Lab in the discipline of design at Architecture Design Planning. We are referring to this ongoing project as Tangible Feelings, so if you would like to download our preprint, you can go to bit.ly/tangifeels. In this paper, we used a co-design approach to designing a technology probe that has the ultimate goal of helping the end user reflect. As many HCI researchers are aware, technology probes are low-fidelity devices that are given to users to help researchers uncover unique responses to the technology, which are based on how the user interacts with the probe itself. Technology probes are similar to cultural probes or design probes. When users are given the probe and allowed to interact with them over time, they are able to give meaningful and deep feedback on their experience. They are usually small-scale objects whose materiality and form are designed to relate to a specific question in a specific context. They are often designed and given to users, but the probes themselves aren't typically subject to an iterative design process. They have been described as tools for design and understanding by Jane Wallace, and according to Bill Gaver, they are meant to elicit inspirational responses rather than comprehensive responses from people. This has value for inspiring design ideas for new technology that could enrich people's lives. Studies have used cultural probes for a range of applications since the probe package tool was introduced by Bill Gaver in 1999. Applications range from the study of memory and cherished objects, design of assistive technology, the design of peer support systems in hospitals, exploring perspective on technology use in parents, and many more. In this research, we used a probe package. The contents allowed designers to manipulate an object with the goal of co-designing a technology probe for research on daily reflections. We initially developed a simple technology probe package, seen here in image A. This included a handheld device, seen in image B, which provided biofeedback collected using a pulse sensor as a point of focus for reflection. It was designed to be used with two hands, or it will not switch on, with the thumb resting on the pulse sensor. The kit included instructions, activities, and tools such as a camera, voice recorder, and a work booklet to help users document their experience living with a probe designed for reflection over a few days. The process highlighted some usability issues, particularly related to the ergonomics and fit of the device and sensor positioning, particularly for people with smaller hands. The usability issues we found caused a lot of distraction from the task of reflection itself. Reflection is a natural and normal part of life, but it's not necessarily trivial. We are interested in understanding how people come to reflect generally, rather than looking at critical reflection. There's lots of examples of technology that aims to help people reflect, such as personal informatics and self-tracking. It's therefore an important area of research to understand how technology can support reflection. There are several interesting methods to collect reflections, such as bullet journaling, body mapping, interviews and questionnaires, and technology probes. We use the description of reflection as a process that has an outcome rather than the outcome itself. Engaging with the object of reflection may result in self-knowledge. By creating a technology probe, we wanted to understand how technology can support reflection by helping the user come to a state where they are ready to reflect on themselves, their day, their experiences, or past memories. So we wanted to work with experienced designers to co-create a probe, to generate new ideas of what the probe should be. We wanted to know what narratives these designers would develop by interacting with the probe, and how we could capture and co-create these through an open-ended technology probe. To explore this uncertainty, we used a blank 3D printed object, the same form used in the initial technology probe study. This gave an opportunity for open-ended interaction while still being a point of focus for reflection through a guided activity. This probe kit included an audio recording of a guided meditation and a workbook informed by somatic design that involves several activities to complete when the designers use the device. We also provided the designers with tools and materials to modify the form of the object. The designers spent 2 consecutive days familiarizing themselves with the object through the workbook activities. Designers started with a 10-minute guided breathing exercise facilitated by an audio recording that used the object as a point of focus. Immediately after the exercise, they responded to questions in the workbook. These questions helped them contemplate the object's purpose and aesthetics, its affordances, and its effect upon their bodily sensations, thoughts, and feelings. For example, the workbook included a stream of consciousness writing, No rules, no judgment, no grammar, simply write whatever comes to mind. And also using a body mapping template to draw embodied sensations. These were aimed to prepare the participant for modifying the object, rather than to collect specific data. The designers suggested changes to the form and interactivity of the object in one or more ways. During the workshop, the 5 participating designers presented their responses to the workbook questions and the way that they modified their object. A group discussion followed, and the designers were able to further refine their modifications and write a reflective narrative. All participating designers were working across different areas of HCI and design and were associated with our lab. Their range of cultural backgrounds, social and embodied experiences with the object informed how they wanted to modify the probe itself. The participants prepared a short statement of their positionality, as well as reflections on the perceived affordances of the object and potential improvements they would make. I will present a summary of each participant's response, and the complete reflections are included in the paper. Participant 1 is an HCI researcher, using first-person approaches in HCI, integrating contemplative and embodied practice. Her statement describes the device as having an organic feel, but an uncommon and ornamental shape, though it reminded her of some smart devices. She suggested straps to hold against the body as an extension to communicate with the body. Thermal or visual feedback could be included as an unobtrusive way of triggering different sensations. Participant 2 is an HCI researcher, focusing on technology-supported pro-social behaviour such as volunteerism. Her statement describes the device as lighter than expected, held in a way that reminds her of holding her baby, suggestive of expressing love. Accordingly, the device could realign verbal expressions of love with haptic gestures that are missing in digital communication devices. Biometric integration, such as fingerprint recognition, could support device personalization. Participant 3 is an HCI researcher, focusing on first-person somatic and tangible design. Their statement states that they're familiar with meditation. They wanted to use an object in the way that fit with their practice, and so explored different ways to hold the object. They explored the materials to change the texture of the object. Visual and haptic feedback may be a useful point of focus. Participant 4 is an HCI researcher, focusing on ethics in design. His statement describes how he used the object as a way of bringing focus back to the breathing exercise when distracted, which motivated his approach to augmenting the device. The texture and material quality of the device was an area for alteration, allowing different ways of grabbing the device. Participant 5 is a practicing designer, focusing on graphic design and fine arts. Her statement describes how she perceives an intended way for the object to be held, and modified the device to alter this affordance, so it has no upright position. The object could be a focus of care for the user, with an evolving relationship. The texture could be updated to be softer to reflect this, and feedback could also include sound. Our paper discusses the impact of positionality and openness when co-designing probes, and also the co-design of technology probes as a generative method. How we approach the design of artifacts and systems is obviously influenced by our time, through current norms of design, motivations of designers, and many other socio-technical and political factors. In this study, the co-design process highlighted the designer's positionality as they reflect through the lens of their interests and knowledge and practice. While this informed the probe concepts they proposed, the important takeaway is not how the designer's backgrounds influence the object we used in this workshop, but what it means for the design process. Through this study, we can see how diverse groups of designers can increase the chances of producing complex and multifaceted outcomes. Through a rich personal experience with the object and a co-design workshop, our participating designers developed different narratives of use. The roles the designers imagined for the technology probe to support research on reflection indicate how following an open-ended process helps create generative outcomes and identify new directions and roles for the technology probe. The interests and expertise of the designers were points of departure that informed the reflective activity, which were then developed further through discussion at our workshop. For example, we imagined 5 potential roles for the technology probe to support reflection. Embodied cultivation relating to the technology probe through body and mind, suggested by participant 1, Relational reflection using metaphors that evoke interpersonal and relational experiences suggested by participant 2. Meditative reflection supporting meditation suggested by participant 3. Experiential storytelling through elements that engage the user in a coherent narrative with a beginning and end suggested by participant 4. And sensory playfulness emphasizing sensory engagement to generate moments of joy proposed by participant 5. Our generative approach shows how diverse positionalities can leverage uncertainty when developing a technology probe and can be applied across a range of themes to explore open-ended possibilities. We focused on reflection in this process. By engaging with the unmodified design over 2 days and attending the co-design workshop, our participants were able to identify new opportunities from an open-ended concept. Co-designing probes can be a generative method to enable design researchers to develop new narratives around technology probes. We also propose that reflective narratives that foreground designer positionality provides new and important opportunities to interpret outcomes from an open-ended process.